Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime movie A Silent Voice on Netflix. And I was kind of surprised that this popped up on Netflix one day. I'm like, hey, I've heard about that movie. I wanted to see that movie. And I was able to watch it, and I really enjoyed it. It balances very well of having a very nice story and very beautiful animation. I mean, it just brings you into the world, really gets you invested in the characters, and it makes you feel like you're in these places with these characters. So, the story starts off, and we see that this young man is going around kind of tidying up his affairs. It looks like you're like, what the hell is kind of going on here? Quitting his job, emptying out his bank account, leaving money for some person. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Leaving dressed up in a suit, and it looks like he's about to throw himself off of a bridge, but he kind of comes out of it after hearing fireworks, and then we start getting into the whole backstory of everything going on. So we see that this young man's name is Shoya, and that in elementary school in about sixth grade, everything was all fine and dandy. He had his friends and all that. They would play video games. We find out that the other person is his mom that he had given the money to. And they're going through and doing their usual stuff until they get a new transfer student named Shoko. And the thing is, she's deaf. And it kind of starts to create problems within the class because people are kind of freaked out by someone who's different, and she would use a notebook to communicate and all that, and she would follow people around and want to be included in things. And she wasn't really being annoying about it, but as kids and people are wont to do, anything different from them, it goes on it. And Shoya becomes the main bullying force. He is not the only bullying force in this. And I like how this film explores bullying, so much so that I think that this should be shown for all the different aspects of bullying, because it isn't just going throughout and being like, and as a simple message of bullying is wrong, and then these steps to kind of control that. As we go through this narrative, nothing is simple about this. So, he's doing all these things, like shouting at her and everything, and messing with her hearing aids and all that, to the point of like destroying like 8 of them. But the issue comes into play in that the teacher, while threatening things, doesn't do a lot himself either to curtail any of this. We see girls kind of pushing her away and just saying to leave them alone. And then, of course, it gets to the point where all those hearing aids are being destroyed. The principal gets involved, and they call out Shoya on it. And he tries to make sure that like, his friends are brought into this, and they're like, screw you, dude, and it's all just put on him. And then he becomes the target of relentless bullying. And Shoko is trying to, like, she wants to be his friend. And the thing is, I could see how people are like, why would she want to be his friend? It's just in her character. It's not her being stupid and being like a poorly written character. I could see how it could be read that way, but it really isn't. She just wants to be friends with people. And it's really kind of sad to just see all those efforts be like that, but it's like, it continues on the narrative as she's wiping away the chalk that people put on her, and of course he gets into a fight with her about it, and the thing is, she's telling him that she's trying to help him. But of course it gets to the point where she transfers out from everything. We also see that his classmates then make him the prime target of bullying, and his mother then finds out about everything that was going on. She's pissed off. She goes and tries to give money to Shoko's mother, and the thing is, she gives the money, but she also gets her earring ripped out, and that's to symbolize what happened to Shoko when Shoya ripped out the hearing aids and hurt her. But this then leads him to high school, where he's been constantly, well, because of everything that had happened with him being bullied instead, and how vehemently he was bullied, where his friends just completely cut him off, and we just see how he had gotten to the point where in high school he was ready to kill himself over it. He doesn't talk to anybody. He just sees X's across everybody's faces. He doesn't look into anybody's eyes. And I really like this narrative choice because it gets into the concept of justice. And okay, Shoya did do wrong with bullying Shoko. But what is the correct response? This kind of punishment and then flip over and make the bully the bullied, and to the point of wanting to end their own life because of the guilt that they feel and what has been done to them socially is abhorrent. It's like, what the fuck? He was not the only one doing these things. Punishment and rehabilitation should be equally meted out, and someone should be able to redeem themselves. You give the possibility of redemption so that way somebody can learn and be better and be their best self. Not, oh, they've done one fucked up thing and then they must be completely punished on that fucked up thing's level for all of eternity. Now granted, there are levels, but it's like, holy shit. And the thing is, he got out of his revie, his mother found out about it, and she was freaked out so much so that she accidentally burnt the money that he had worked so hard to do. But he's like, no, no, no. Because he kind of got back into the flow. He actually helped someone out who was being bullied. He offered up his bike as this other student was trying to take his, but he found out it was stolen. He did find one of the, like Shoko's waterlogged message book and was going to kind of return it to her. And he goes and finds her in this sign language class. And the thing is, he's at first curtailed by who we think is Shoko's boyfriend, but we find out later is her little sister, and he starts reconnecting with her, feeding Koi with bread and all that, and starting to kind of build out again and kind of grow and reconnect to people. Getting that boy who was being bullied about his bike to be a friend, and the dude's like, you're my best friend, because he has been socially ostracized as well. Now, granted, it's not delved into that deeply, but still. He starts kind of reconnecting. Shoko wants to know where this one girl was who also transferred out, who was trying to be her friend. Reconnects with her, reconnects with the other girl who was pretty much one of the main instigators of the girl clique, who works in a cat cafe, but not the kind of cat cafe that he thought it was going to be. That was a kind of little funny moment. But then this other girl who vehemently denied any part of the bullying kind of comes back in as well as this other high school student who just wanted to be Shoya's friend. And it's kind of cool seeing them kind of build out their relationships and be like, wow, okay, this is nice. And he's able to look in people's eyes. And he's building his repertoire with Shoko and all that. And we get to a point that Shoko tries to confess her feelings to him, but she does it verbally and he doesn't understand what she said. And of course she's kind of beating herself up about that, but Shoya's like, hey, how about we go to like the amusement park? And they all kind of go and they start having a good time. But the girl instigator gets him into contact with his old best friend who's working at the amusement park, and this kind of shuts him back down again, where he starts putting the X's on people's faces, saying that he probably does hate that chick. She then goes and takes Shoko on the Ferris wheel, but not before the little sister gives the camera to Shoko, so that way he can, she can spy on what's going on, and we find out that she tells Shoko that she hates her because of everything that was done. And of course, Shoko says that she hates herself about it. And of course, the other girl in Shoya's class talks about everything that Shoya did to try and distance herself from the bully and all that. And it starts freaking him out. And they, of course, get to the part at the Koi Bridge where everything starts falling apart, but Shoya starts blasting people for their level of involvement. And granted, it's not the best way he could have done it, but he starts hitting people on their kind of levels of what's going on, pretty much destroying his whole friend group. But he is still there with Shoko. We also get a part where we find out that Shoko's grandmother died, and he kind of helps out with that a little bit, but he starts doing more things with just Shoko and her little sister, and trying to assuage her from hating herself from everything that had occurred. However, this doesn't work out that way. We get to a part where, of course, Shoko's mother was at first leery about Shoya, but started to accept him and even kind of going along with this fireworks festival. And the thing is, the mother and the little sister go to get food, and Shoko's like, oh, I gotta go study, and goes back to their apartment. Of course, the little sister forgot her camera there and kind of needs it to take the pictures. So Shoya decides to go up and get the camera. And as he's going, he sees that Shoko is on the balcony getting ready to throw herself off to kill herself. But he is able to get there in time and grab her before she falls all the way off. But yet, unfortunately, he's able to save her, but he falls down and lands in the water and is seriously injured. Interesting enough, we learn later on that his old best friends from elementary school were the ones that pulled him out of the water. And he is in the hospital and in a coma. And then, of course, we see everybody kind of reacting. We see that Shoko's mother and sister are apologizing to Shoya's mother and all that. And everybody's kind of dealing with it differently. Shoko tries to make amends because she wants to repair what she has destroyed in her mind. And that's nice of her, but the thing is, she really didn't destroy it. It's kind of like, or granted, if she wasn't the sole responsible one, it's like her involvement she wasn't the one that destroyed it. There were other multiple factors going on, but she goes and she tries to help everybody talk about this, and she pretty much starts getting everybody back together. She does have an altercation with the main clicky girl as she's like beating on her, but her mom comes out and they start fighting. And it's just kind of sad seeing everybody going through all these emotions, but they are able to kind of get to a certain point because the main click girl was, interestingly enough, always there at Shoya's bedside in the hospital. Like, wow, okay. So she does care about people, even though she acts like an inconsiderate jackass. So Shoko gets to a point where she has this dream that Shoya is pretty much bidding farewell to her, and she freaks out and runs to the koi bridge and just starts crying. And then we see that Shoya pops out of his coma and is like freaked out and makes his way to the koi bridge as well. And they have a nice reunion, and he says that he wants to try and help her not hate herself, that he understands that because he was at a point that he wanted to kill himself, but he doesn't want to, and that he wants her to help him live. And it's like, wow, all right. So the next portion we get to is the school festival, and he, of course, goes there with Shoko, and he starts reconnecting with everybody, his best friend, everybody else, and stops freaking out. And they go to the festival together, and he's able to look people in the eyes. All these people who have had these X's across their faces, they start falling away, and he starts crying because he has found that kind of redemption and forgiveness that he probably even wasn't really thinking he could get. And it's just a very nice and touching way to end the movie. And I didn't know exactly where I was going to be going when and feeling things when I was seeing this movie. Like, okay, it's about bullying. Let's kind of see how this goes. And I was very glad to see how it was handled. It's not a kind of black and white response. There's all different kinds of factors going into it. How do you punish bullying? How do you help victims? How do you do all these things with everybody else involved? how do you do these different levels? What is the justice and what is going on when we try to do punishment and rehabilitation? I definitely wasn't expecting to ruminate so much on justice as watching this film, but I was like, wow, this really does go into the effect of punishments and crimes and what is a just response to bullying. Because, yes, what Shoya did was terrible. But he was a child and he needed to be taught the error of his ways. He was not. His teacher failed, his principal failed. And they didn't just fail Shoya, they also failed the class, because all this bullying that was going on to Shoko then was transferred over to Shoya and nothing was stopped. Because people thought, oh, he's a bully, he deserves to be bullied. No. He deserves to be punished and corrected the error of his ways and help see what he did was wrong, why it was wrong, and how to not do that in the future. But no, they were just like, hey, dog eat dog, violence done unto you that you have done unto others. It's like, wow, I wasn't expecting seeing it. And then also how that can also affect the victims, because Shoko then sees what his life has become and feels guilty herself because of the situations that occurred with that, because she feels that because she was introduced and all these people made these choices to be assholes, that it was on to her. I'm like, fucking hell, it's a bitch, and just hard, and I like how there's no easy kind of responses to these things. Granted, there is a happy ending. I was kind of expecting one or both of them to die, but they both lived and they both learned to move on, scars and all, and I'm like, yes, that is important. We kind of get too bogged down in certain respects of doing the shittiest thing and just be like, okay, let's see how we can George R. R. Martin this motherfucker. Sometimes, even if it is a good, happy ending, everybody still has problems. That is the importance of these kind of endings, to show that we can move forward from these things, learn from these things, and become better people. Because that's what we should aim to do, to become better people. And that's kind of my takeaway from this film. So I was really glad that I was able to see this, and I would highly recommend it to anyone, really. Now, granted, if you're looking for an action kind of thing, this isn't going to be your bag. If you're looking for character development, definitely a lot of good character development for a lot of the people around. Granted, certain supporting characters aren't given that much, but they're not completely integral to the story, so the amount that they're given works. And I would really recommend it to places to show, to talk and converse about bullying. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.